Hey, it's Kelly, creator of the Virtual Dirt Biker School. In this video, I want to give you 3 super simple but super helpful drills to improve your clutch control so that you stop stalling, so that you have more control at low speeds, and so that you can get over obstacles and uphills with less effort. The first drill is one of my favorites, and it is the no-throttle drill. So, pull on the clutch, put it into first gear, and I take my right hand off the throttle. The goal is to get going in first gear so that I can let the clutch all the way out without even touching the throttle. This is great if you're stalling a lot when getting going in first gear, and you can start by going downhill if you want. This is flat, kind of slightly downhill. It's a little bit easier. So what you do is find that engagement point. So the engine RPM starts to drop and the bike starts to move, and then you keep it there and let the bike build up a little bit of speed. I have one foot down, the other foot on the foot peg. I'm not touching the throttle, and slowly, very slowly let the clutch out until I can get both feet on the pegs, and then I can let the clutch all the way out, and I still haven't touched the throttle. This will really help you find that engagement point or the friction zone and be very precise, because if you start moving and you let it out too quickly, you're just gonna stall. And right here is a slight incline, so that makes it about twice as hard as a slight decline. So slowly let it out, not touching the throttle. I'm kind of stepping with the bike as it builds up speed, and there, both feet on the pegs. And it's a little bit easier with a trail bike with a lower first gear, because like a motocross bike, they have a tall first gear. So you gotta be going a lot faster before you can let the clutch all the way out. And if you still find that a struggle, then you can increase the engine idle RPM speed. This is basically the same thing as giving it a tiny bit of throttle. So going from like 1500 RPM up to like 2000 RPM can help. Drill number 2 is granny speed. This one is not only good for clutch control, it's good for balance as well, because you start out with both feet on the pegs. So I'm gonna get going in first gear, and what you do is you try and ride as slow as possible without stalling and without putting a foot down. You can do this sitting or standing. So right now, I'm not touching the throttle or the clutch, so it's just idling. If you can do that, that's great. Now, try pulling in the clutch just a little bit so that you slow the bike down, and then just kind of work the clutch so it doesn't stall, and so you can keep going so you don't have to put a foot down, and then work your way down in speed so that you can basically come to a stop, balance, and then keep going again. Stop, balance, go again. And to help balance, I'm using my core and my knees to balance, as well as turning the wheel. This will really help in those slow speed situations on the trails where the trail gets really tight or technical and you need a lot of balance and you don't want to put a foot down. The third drill is practicing going uphill, and this is about the steepest hill we have here. It's not super steep if you get a nice run up, but as you can see, it's kind of a tight turn, so you're basically in first or second gear. And if you don't have momentum, it's really easy to spin the tire. So if I just dump the clutch and give it gas, I'm just gonna spin the rear tire. So my goal is to give it as little gas as possible while slipping the clutch and getting as much traction as possible. So I'm letting out the clutch. You hear the engine RPM going down, so I'm gonna give it a little bit more. So you're just combining that to keep the engine at the lowest RPM possible, not letting that tire spin. You can see it's at the steepest part of the hill right here. Still not spinning the rear tire. Keeping that engine RPM down low, modulating the clutch. There. One of my biggest pet peeves and one of the biggest mistakes is just relying on engine RPM, thinking more power is better to get up the hill. So you just, yeah, I made it up. But then you made a big rut and you're just wasting so much power and you're spinning the tire and it's just not efficient. Yeah, and this is sand, so that's gonna rip up really easily. So it's always my goal to use as little RPM as possible and get as much traction as possible, because the more I'm slipping the clutch, using the throttle, the more heat the engine is going to produce. It's putting more wear and tear on the clutch, the engine's going to heat up faster, and that's when coolant can come spitting out. If you have radiators, which this doesn't, and you're spinning the tire, putting more wear and tear on the tire, you're gonna have to replace them. So all that's more expensive, and it requires a lot more energy. So that's why I'm always trying to be as efficient as possible in all areas of life. Oh, I just squeaked. And these are just some of the basic techniques that I teach in my virtual dirt biker school. And if you want to get started for free, I got a basic techniques guide. It's a free PDF. You can grab that in the description below.